It is now my pleasure to introduce our final speaker of the day, legendary U.S. soccer player, Abby Wambach. As I was thinking about what to say about her, the applause kind of makes it clear you may have heard of her. It's possible. And so it's probably obvious that she is a two-time Olympic gold medalist, that she has led the women's national soccer team to World Cup victory, that she has scored more goals than anyone else ever, male or female. But you probably know all of that, right? That's why you're here. You were excited about it. So what don't you know? What don't you know about her? You might not know that she was the only girl to play boys' sports in elementary school. You might not know that in her telling of Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf is the hero, not the girl who stays on the path. You might not know that even as she ascended to the uppermost level of sports, her feet have always been planted firmly on the ground, standing alongside all of those who have suffered, who have sacrificed, and who have struggled, who have been discounted or discriminated against. And you might not know that she just gave about the most inspiring commencement address that I've ever read. In fact, I told her backstage that I cried when I read it the first time, and I cried last night when I read it again. So no pressure, Abby. We're not expecting anything from you today. She is an icon. You know you're an icon, as a member of my team said, when you can go on YouTube and there's a video teaching people how to pronounce your name. That might be the definition of an icon. But she's also real, and she's raw, and she's wise, and she's fierce. And that is what makes her an inspiration to all of us, the girls and the women in this room. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Abby Wambach.
Forget me. Forget my number. Forget my name. Forget I ever existed. Forget the medals won, the records broken, and the sacrifices made. I want to leave a legacy where the ball keeps rolling forward, where the next generation accomplishes things so great that I am no longer remembered. So, forget me. Because the day I'm forgotten is the day we will succeed.
Don't give up, I won't give up, don't give up, no, no, no. I'm free to be the greatest I'm alive.
What's going on? Well, first of all, I have been backstage watching all the other presenters, and thank you. You know, it takes a village. It's the absolute truth. And everybody who has been a part of today, thank you. I mean, from the time I got here, people are so nice. You know, that commercial was actually a really important thing that happened in my life. This is not a Gatorade-sponsored event, just to be clear. Leaving a legacy is something that oftentimes we start thinking about when it's too late. Oftentimes, it's in the last year of your job, or the senior year of your school, or as you're leaving college to head off into the work world. Off the top here, write your send-off commercial now. There's no better way to figure out what you believe, what you feel, than figuring out who you are, writing it down, getting it on paper. You know, when I was younger, I was about 10, 11 years old, I played on the ODP teams. It's the former best way to get to the national team, Olympic Development Program. I found myself talking and learning from greats. April Heinrichs, she was my first national team coach. She came and talked to my state team And she said some really cool things that I kept with me, like real soccer players never go anywhere without their shoes on. My mom, she never let me forget that either. Anytime I'd be outside with bare feet. Real soccer players never go anywhere without their shoes on. And April Heinrich, she taught us about commitment and work ethic and all the things. She was a great speaker. But one of the things that I was really interested about was she just got this shoe deal. Do you guys remember Lanzera? Some of the younger people here are like, no. Lanzera used to be this soccer shoe company that they endorsed a few of the women's national team players, and we're like talking about the early 90s, okay? So not only was it a long time ago, but women's soccer really had yet to take off. And April Heinrichs was up there inspiring me to be, she was a women's national team player, she was inspiring me to be this women's national team player. And then she tells me that she is a sponsored athlete. She goes as far as to say that she made $1,000 a year to wear this shoe. And so the reason why I'm telling you this story is because when we're children, what we are told is what we believe about ourselves. She was my idol. She was what I wanted to become. So my dream when I was 10 to 11, 12, 13 years old was to make $1,000 a year. And I know it's kind of funny, but when that's compared to what Michael Jordan was making at the time, I was combining my inspiration with my worth. Think about that. Think about it as a 10-year-old kid. That's when I was starting to develop what I thought I deserved from out there. Now, as I fast forward through my career, I achieved great heights, won medals. You know, they call me an icon. It's pretty cool. But the truth is I stood on a stage, much like this, next to Kobe Bryant, next to Peyton Manning, and they were giving me literally an icon award at the ESPYs in 2016. I remember standing on that stage feeling, wow, okay, this is amazing. I'm next to Kobe and Peyton. Like, we're friends. Amazing. Felt so grateful to be there, like all women who reach the top. We turned on our heels and walked out the stage, and I truly got slapped in the face with what different retirements all three of us were walking into. And it brings me back to that 11, 12, 13-year-old girl who started accepting less than. To be honest, and I don't know how many kids are in here, but I was pissed. I was pissed not only for myself and my future, but I was pissed because I had just left. I had just stopped playing. It felt like the moment and the time where I could have actually made some change was gone. Kobe and Peyton, they are friends of mine, but they get to invest the millions that they earned. And I had to figure out a new way to make them. I had to figure out a way to pay my bills, my mortgage. So over the next couple of months, with my rage, because, you know, we women, we know how to do anger. And you know what? That's important. We deserve to be pissed off. We deserve to be angry. I've made it my mission, I've made it my life's work to make sure that the Alex Morgans of the world, that the Mallory Pughs of the world, that the other kids who are going to be coming behind me will not experience that same feeling. And how do we do that? How do I go from that 10, 12-year-old kid to the ESPY stage to make sure that that doesn't happen? Got an email one day from the Barnard president. She asked me to speak at their commencement And I thought, I haven't even graduated from college. Why would they want me to speak at a graduation from college? And I started thinking about it, and of course, I won championships for our country. Of course, I achieved great heights playing soccer. But what they wanted me to talk about was my defending women, was my ability to stand up in front of people and speak truth, was my fight for equal rights, was my ability to affect change in the LGBTQ community. They didn't want me just as a soccer player. They wanted me to talk about life. So I put my pen to paper and I had to figure out who I was. I had to figure out, aside from soccer, what did I want my life to be? What do I want the future to be? And so I just started writing. I found out that our women's national team is a beautiful little ecosystem. It's one that doesn't really get replicated enough in our culture. We have women who believe that the space that they're taking up is worthy, that the feet in their shoes are worthy to walk the path that they're on. You know, we have 23 badass women. Can you imagine being the captain of 23 women who think they're all the best in the world? It's hard. It's hard. And gone are the days, right? Gone are the days where one person gets to stand up there and say, this is how things are run, follow the rules or else you're out. Nowadays, leadership is so nuanced that you actually have to adhere and get to every single person and figure out what motivates that person. Okay? So the women's national team, we had introverts. We had extroverts, one of those. We had goal scorers. We had defenders. We had people who were outspoken and social activists. We had philanthropists. We had all sorts of people that came from all sorts of different places. Okay? So what I'm telling you is leadership isn't a one-size-fits-all anymore. You have to figure out how each individual person is motivated, and then collectively figure out how to get all of those individuals on the same page. Okay? Now, not an easy task, but I'm going to try to break it down. Okay? First of all, some of these things that all of us women really believed and truly identify with. Number one, being an athlete, you have to fail. Women for so long have been made to feel like they need to be perfect in order to get that one seat at the table, to get that one chance, to get that one opportunity. You know what I'm talking about? That everything that you say, everything that you do, you have to be perfect at it. Now over here, the men in the room, the men in the corporate world, the men in the political systems, we see it every day. They fail a bunch. But they stay. They keep going. We need to stop holding ourselves to perfect standards. Imperfect women are real women. You need to make failure the thing that fuels you. You need to make sure that every single time you do fall down, you look at it as an opportunity to stand back up. I know it's super cliche, but it's real. Every opportunity in your life is another thing to learn from. I'm just asking. It's an opportunity to learn from, okay? Failure is the thing. I mean, think about it. I became a world-renowned athlete. I became the highest goal scorer in the lands. I guarantee you, I missed 1,000,000 times more than I made it. And if that's not enough, think about every single time you just couldn't figure out that math problem. Think about every single time you just couldn't quite get that final knot on your shoelace. Like, the whole point of life is to figure stuff out. And you're not going to be perfect at it. I have children now, and it's really fun to take them through the process of learning something, whether it be soccer or math or homework or whatever. The homework thing's not like my jam. Soccer thing, yes, I got that one down. If you can figure out a way to turn failure into something that can progress you into your future, you will be better. And it's a mind shift. Rather than thinking to yourself, oh, I suck, think, oh, this is an opportunity. That's what successful people do. They turn it all on its head. Next thing I want to talk about is how we all need to start championing each other. Women, especially, have been pitted against each other. You know, we've only been given that one seat at the table. We've only seen one woman in the political space that potentially could have gotten into the Oval Office. If only one woman is at every table, then it's just math. That woman has got to do everything to protect her seat, her space, her job. Gone are those days. We need to throw out the old rules. Out with the old and with the new. We need to believe, in any revolution, we need to believe that something is true before we even start doing it. We need to believe that not only will there be more seats at the table, but we need to start demanding that there are more seats at the table. It makes no sense to me. Women are the consumers of the world, yet we don't have enough representation in the boardrooms of the things that are getting created to then get put out into the world. We need to make sure that we look after each other. You know, when Alex Morgan and I played against each other in practice and played against each other on club teams and then played with each other in the national team in games, we pushed each other. For us, for the national team, it was a pursuit of excellence, a relentless pursuit of excellence. Now that means I need to get better. I need to go higher. How am I going to do that? What's a good way to push yourself, to challenge yourself? Really good way is to have somebody else who's pretty damn good next to you. I didn't compete against Alex Morgan. I competed with her because if I was my best, she was going to be her best. That kind of mentality has to be embraced in every avenue. Because if you're getting pushed to be your best, then you're going to leave the world better than you found it. When I was about 15 years old, Michelle Akers, she was a huge idol of mine. She looked like me. She played like me. She was tall. She was big. She made me feel comfortable in my body. So watching her play, something I love to do, I found myself at this practice, and our women's national team didn't have a place to play all the time back in the day. This is probably, mid-90s. And so in order to stay fit, Michelle came and trained with some of the youth national teams, which is what I was on. So I found myself at this one practice, and in walks my idol, and she plants her bag down. I'm very nervous now. She has long, curly hair. She doesn't put it back in a ponytail. I don't know why that was. It still confuses me. But we found ourselves in this practice, in this drill. It's 5v5. And I got this feeling like, I can't believe I'm going to be playing soccer with my idol. And what then progressed to happen is that she started to teach us. She started to coach us. She wasn't there to coach us. She wanted to train. But it was what was called for. The moment our team, we weren't doing that great. We were getting scored against. We got about 3/4 of the way through the actual drill, and she realized her team was losing badly. She walks over to the goalkeeper, and I kid you not, she gets this close to the goalkeeper's face, veins popping out of her neck, and she goes, "Give me the effing ball!" Now, all of us basically died. All of us died. And the goalkeeper was shaking and just kind of rolled the ball to her. And she dribbled through the team, and she scored. And it was winners keepers for this specific game. So she ran back to the goalkeeper and again yelled at her, "Give me the ball!" And I remember feeling like something is happening right now, other than us just getting scored on, and other than us losing this lead, and other than us losing this drill. I saw and witnessed a beautiful arc of leadership. I saw a woman who stepped into a youth national team and knew that, you know what, she's the older player here and she has some advice to give. But there was a time, and there came a time throughout that small, stupid drill that she needed to alter her form of leadership to fit what was being required of that specific game. There was a time that Michelle had to step up and take the responsibility and then win the game for us. Or it was against me, so we lost. Sucked. And what I remember feeling was that is what I want. I want to be able to be the kind of leader that knows when to step up and also knows the time where they need to push the people that they're trying to lead forward and ahead. There's a fine balance. It's a perfect balance. I think that making failure your fuel and championing each other and demanding the ball, these are all important theories and philosophies. I think being a part of the national team gave me this belief system and this understanding that we can all create the worlds that we are in. You can create them at your table that you're at. You can create them at your school. You can create them in your team. I have a 12-year-old daughter who loves playing. She is the biggest Alex Morgan fan. It's quite annoying. I'm like, dude, you know that I scored more goals than Alex, right? But she loves playing. She loves the game. She's not the greatest. And so I talk to her about all the things about what sport is and what sport can give you that will help her life as a full-rounded person. I talk about leadership, and I talk about, you know what? You don't have to be the best player on the team to be an effective, smart leader. You just have to be open. You have to be hardworking. You have to be able to point out something that you see. She is one of the inspirations of my life now, because not only is she like a little experiment that I get to play on the things that I want to teach the world, but I was poisoned. I was that 12-year-old kid who took on the thought that I didn't deserve as much as a man. And I'm trying to make it my mission, and I'm trying to point out all the things, right, that you might miss. So a Hooters commercial comes on. I pause it, and I point at the TV, and I say, "What do you see, baby?" And she says, "I see women using their bodies to sell chicken wings." And I say, "What are women's bodies for?" And she says women's bodies are for playing sports. Women's bodies are for leading. Women's bodies are for learning. Women's bodies are not for selling something. I try to point my children and their understanding of life towards the things that the world is trying to sell us. You know, leadership is a tricky business these days. Like I said, it's hard to get some of the millennials, right, on board. It's hard to, my dad, he said he walked uphill both ways in snow to school every single day. That's not physically possible. You can't walk uphill both ways. You have to go downhill, right? And I've thought about that a lot. I'm like, what is this? What is the story here? And the story is that our parents' generation, my generation, and the younger generation, as the generations go on, the whole thing is that the older generation complains about how easy the next generation has it, and the next it's the same thing. That's evolution. That's the way it goes, okay? But I want to turn it on its head because I believe deeply that for me, the legacy in that commercial you guys saw, the legacy I truly want to leave is that I want the game to be better than when I found it. I don't want to hold any records. I mean, it's cool. It's been great. You know, I love being able to say that I'm better than Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. I love that. But what real leadership is when you are gone and you are beyond your craft and you're beyond your job and whatnot. You have to make sure that you leave the place better than you found it so that those women or men can leave the place better than they found it. So if my name is forgotten, then my job is done. I think when I talk about writing the legacy of my life or writing the commercial of my life, I have been able to understand more about who I am, about what I believe. And why my story I think is important is because it is every single woman's story. Of course, I play it on a national world stage, but I tell you what, every single woman who leaves their job leaves with less money than the man that they worked alongside. I'll tell you that they didn't experience as much, as good a treatment as the men that they worked alongside. I'll tell you that the women in their lives helped them. But that's where we have stopped. We all know. We saw the Barnard speech. We all know the statistics. Do you know that there are more CEOs named Dan than there are women CEOs? That's true. You know that 96% of the CEOs that are women played college or university sport? Where we stop as a culture, as women, is we stop right before we band together. So I talked about wolfpack in the Barnard speech. We have a wolf and then you have a pack, right? We can do all the work we want. We can do all the understanding and uncovering as our own independent individual selves and wolves. But if we never unite, nothing will ever change. If we don't unite across verticals, across sport, across finance, tech, government, politics, whatever it is you want to talk about, if we don't start saying the same things, because here's the deal, every woman's story is the same. They might use different, actual language, but all of the stories are the exact same. There's only one woman, fewer women of color, I don't get the same amount of respect. I don't get the same kind of pay. We all need to collectively unite and become one. And the way we do that is by completely throwing out the rules of the old and bringing in the rules of the new. And demanding that that's the case, demanding that that's so. I get so pissed off, you guys. I'm sorry. It's within our power. What I experienced and the energy and the feel of playing on the women's national team and representing our country, who, by the way, it wasn't without its discrimination. We are paid less than the men, for sure. But being in that environment, I know that it's possible. I see that it's possible to create community, create environments, create workspaces, create corporate culture, create policy to make life equal for all of us down here. We have to do it. We have to believe it. Sport has been for sure my avenue. Sport has been what I have known and what I have learned to be able and to be worthy of any space I take up. If you're a girl out there, if you're a future woman of our world, and you hear somebody mistreating you because of your gender, or you hear somebody mistreating somebody else because of their gender, call them out. If you hear somebody say, "Oh, don't be a little girl," take offense to that. You know, I don't pretend to know everything, but I do know about leadership, and I do know about women, and I do know that we as women, we have one thing left that we need to do to actually get the change that we wish we can have. And it's to unite. All of us down here, the reason why we're separated is because that's the way power wants it. If we're all fighting against each other down here for the crumbs, then there's no way we can turn power. And I'm here to tell you, I've experienced what collective power can do. Yes, we've won medals, but we're revered. I have 15-year-old boys saying, "I want to be a women's soccer player." That's something. You know, I have had so much joy representing the United States. I've had so much experience going around the world and seeing what other cultures are like. I know that our women's national team is basically the highest paid women's team in the world. So you might ask, why are you so angry? Because I am never going to stop. Not until every single woman on this planet is seen and treated as an equal. I'm never going to stop. But it's our job. It's our job as collective people here to make sure that our younger generation doesn't drink or eat the same kind of poison that I was served as a young kid. And also, by the way, toxic masculinity, when our women are treated the same, are treated equal from the ground up, toxic masculinity goes away. Our little boys need it just as much as our girls. This is not just a woman's issue. Having represented Team USA for so many years and now trying to create a collective wolfpack, I'm just going to ask you guys want to join me? I see some younger kids out there. Do you guys want to be a part of this movement, of my wolf pack? Of our wolf pack, not mine, our wolf pack. You guys, we can do this. It can be done in my lifetime, in your lifetime. We just have to believe it. First step in any revolution is believing something is so. Thank you guys so much for having me.